followers for my username. So I'm going to add another field, followers, and pass in a different set of arguments this time, and I'm going to say last 3 and also ask for the ID and the bio of the usernames within that node. Notice here that it's going to throw an error, and this is a syntax error as well. The error is shown before even you hit play, and it says that the field followers conflict because they have different arguments. So in GraphQL, you can't pass the same field with different sets of arguments, and that causes a conflict. The error message suggested that we use an alias if this was intentional. Writing an alias is simple. Just before your field, you give your alias name and place a colon. And for the next one, give another alias name and place a colon. Now your errors have disappeared because GraphQL can now distinguish between the two sets of fields with different arguments. We have two aliases, the first followers and the last follower. Response back, it's clearly distinguished, and we have the first followers, and this is how we use aliases in GraphQL. In this clip, we're going to learn about using fragments. Fragments are GraphQL's reusable units. You can think of fragments like functions in a programming. language. We use functions as reusable units, and we can plug these functions all over our code. Fragments do the same thing for GraphQL. They let you build sets of fields, and then you can include them in multiple queries. This way your query looks clean and readable. Let's take a look at an example to understand fragments better. Back in our example, let's see how we can utilize fragments. We were querying for the followers, and I'm going to add some more fields in our query. I'm going to also add, in addition to the ID and bio, the bio HTML and the avatar URL. When we hit play, we get back all our response. Notice here that there is a lot of repetition of fields in our query. We have the same fields that we're querying for in the first followers as well as the last followers. This would be a good time to use fragments. When you define a fragment, you use the keyword fragment and give a unique name to your fragment and describe on what object you're giving your fragment. In our case, it is the user object. And I'm going to type out all the fields that are part of our fragment, like ID, bio, bio HTML, and avatar URL. So now our fragment is ready, and it's time to plug it into our query. To plug it in, you use the ... operator and give the name of your fragment. So in our case, we say ... user info. And as you start typing it, your graphical explorer is already aware of the new fragment that you created on the user object. Our query now looks really clean, and when we hit the play button, we get our JSON response back. Notice in GraphQL, think of it like a function name in a programming language. So let's try and give our query name. You're going to make things much better. Queries and mutations are better organized when they have their own unique operation names. Operation name. Fragments are querying for the followers in our query. You can think of fragments. We can do, and you can increase. Example. Let's see how we can utilize fragments. You're giving your fragment ready, and it's time to plug it to indicate that this argument cannot be null. And now we can have our variable defined under the query variables section. I'm going to type is owner and either give it a value true or false. After having given the value true, you can run your query, and we know there are no stored repositories with me being the owner. So I'm going to turn that to false and run a different query this time. When we hit play, you see there is a whole bunch of stored repositories that come back. And this is how you run dynamic GraphQL queries with the use of variables. In this clip, we're going to learn about changes to the data, so that there are side effects after mutations and changes the data cells run in series one after the other in Graph. The status field requires some additional subfields. Now we're going to try to write a mutation to change the status lookin. Well, that might be the one that for our mutation, change user, and to learn, and this is a variable that we are passing here. Inside our change user status, we're going to call for the field client mutation ID. If you look up the client mutation ID, it is a unique identifier. That is, the thing I want to do is add a mutation for the status. Fine. Define the client or change, our mutation, and our query. Notice here that now the message for the viewer has been updated to demo for Pluralsight. And that's how you run a mutation. In addition, type a different message this time. There you go. You see my new status that says demo is now complete. Isn't that cool? A homework for you would be to go ahead and play around with some other mutations that are available from the GitHub API and familiarly call new status. You can see the response back and it looks like it has updated the status message, and you can always verify that by running our query viewer info. So I'm going to hit play button and run our previous query. Note here that now the message and type it. A different message this time, AI, and familiarize yourself more with writing mutations and queries. We've reached the end of our graph.
I actually saved $500,000. I saved my company $500,000 in about 5 minutes. This is more money than I've made for my employers over the course of my entire career.
It was like at a larger corporation and there was red tape for everything, and this is bringing back some flashbacks. We gotta have a meeting. Gotta have some meetings about clicking that button before we can get it. We gotta get some sign off.
before just coming out the gates. At the time this was happening, I had just graduated and joined the organization as a data scientist. The two people in June, I was told it had to be put on hold due to COVID. This was a very convenient excuse because they had absolutely effed the whole project up already, but it brought some valuable time, or it bought some valuable time. I still see some people finally ready to launch. 5? What is that? 5 total years in development?
Yeah, wait.
Panicking. Okay, I mean, already I can't read. Insane dumpster fire spider web of technical debt, and it's only like 1 week old. Here are some fun details. Well, it's 5 years of somebody making capital D design decisions.
Yeah.
The S3 files are pulled into Snowflake via Snowpipe. The new Snowflake data is pivoted by a JavaScript stored procedure into a relational format, and that's how you edit someone's database access. The whole process is to upload like 2 KB CSV into a database that has people's database roles in it.
Let's go.
Then they never deployed the scanning tool. So this hurts. So we have all the downsides of the CSVs and none of the upsides. Perfect.
I like how they're like worried about malicious content, but they also just save the admin credentials in plain text. Like, guys, we really got to be careful. Someone could do something bad with the system.
I mean, that's fair. Out. And a file at the same time. By the way, I love the T command. Great for some command line foo. Not sure I'd use it. Needed later. The lines are just setting the same, getting started, but we have to stop for now because I'm going to catch fire. These details are important because you now understand the kind of operation wins, but really this is just many times more expensive than our previous operational model. I'd have to understand that more. That sounds like a confusing way to measure. You will pay for, let's see, you only pay for the computers while they're on. Okay, that seems reasonable. We probably run a few thousand queries per week, mostly developers experimenting with little tweaks for Power BI reports. This is the second time I've ran into this Power BI thing. Power BI, as I'm being told. The computers are set to idle for 10 minutes after every query.
You gotta prove that the idea can work.
Discovery, optimize costs.
Yes.
There it is. Now I have to optimize costs so that I have something to say at the next stand-up. And fortunately, I know just the thing. I test my hypothesis that this is all a sick joke, and I'm going to push the button that I secretly think should obviously have been pushed. We've got a new guy on another team who seems excellent, so I asked management if I can give him admin credentials since we need competent people. They say no. I flick him some lower-level database credentials that I technically wasn't told not to do. Dude, if there, I don't know, I don't think that exists at Netflix, which means that A, I'm not a good engineer, or B, we're all good engineers. There's only two things there.
There's only two options.
But I am not in a secret. A fire extinguisher to a pile of money that we had set alight. Fair. Other teams are attacking my team, insisting that it can't be a coincidence that the new guy joined exactly.
We're trying to read the sign.
Baldur's Gate happens, and then a bunch of people get upset about
because their project isn't as doing as good as they were hoping for. I guess maybe it happened.
The subtext is that if we do this all slowly enough, it might seem like it took a lot of effort instead of just clicking buttons that I said had to be clicked almost a year ago.
Let's go. This is removing, like, sleep 10.
It literally is.
Put a bunch of sleep 10s in your code, and then throughout the year, remove them one at a time. It's literally the recommend.
It's like the saddest statement I think I've ever said out loud ever in my entire lifetime.
This is like reading a DM with Old Man Judo, and he's making
impotent by the organization, and I'm still convinced that this place is probably better than the median organization. Dang, that is quite the phrase. I asked management for a 30K raise after saving 500K, and my I beg you. P.S. While this is doing immense traffic, any similar stories being sent to lucidityhackernews@gmail would be greatly appreciated, so I feel less alone in this madhouse. NPM and left pad, have we forgotten how to program? So right now, I will say that I'm immediately excited about this article specifically, just because I do feel like when you have easy access to the ability to store libraries, by this very concept, your libraries become more and more atomic to the point where we see something like this. So I'm very curious what the hell this article is about, and I'm really, I'm personally very excited. It was posted a long time ago, but this still could be a very good article. So let's do this. Enhance. Okay, developers, time to have a serious talk. As you are probably aware, this week, React, Babel, and a bunch of other high-profile packages on NPM broke. The reason why they broke is rather outstanding. A simple NPM package called leftpad that was a dependency on their code. Okay, so I remember hearing about this. I actually remember hearing about this. I never read up on what happened. I just remember that it just, like, the entire ecosystem... I already hate this code. I equals -1. Okay. JavaScript, you just use an array. They're a 0 or a 1. I can't remember which one of the two, but one of them designates this object lives on the heap. The other one designates that this object is actually an integer, a small integer, a SME. I have to jump over to here because I still don't know how to use the Firefox console. Yeah, I'm not a real web dev, okay? For those that don't know. Function, left pad, let's jump in here. We had a string, we had a length, and we had a character. Okay, awesome. So let's go like this. Let's go return new array stir length minus length, right? Wait, it's the other way around, huh? Length minus stir length. Awesome. Fill. Now we just need to fill it with the proper characters. So we have to go like this. Not char and char does not equal 0. We will provide a blank line, else char. Join empty plus string. And there we go. And I believe I just did it. I think that's it. Left pad. Foo. Let's go 5. And there you go. Yay! My goodness, I wrote it! I wrote left pad, everybody! It was so hard! People, it literally takes longer for you to find this package on NPM than it does for you to write this stupid ass code. Okay? This is like asking ChatGPT to write this code for you. You would have to go to chatgpt.com. You would then have to be logged in. You would then have to type out your dumbass question in the ChatGPTs and char and takes in a function to run. It has the args, and then we also want a function, we want a count, and we want the args to be passed in. There we go. This is looking pretty dang good. And then we're gonna go like this: const start equals performance dot now, bam. And then we're gonna go like this. Whoopsies. Let's go add, and then we're gonna have how get larger and larger and larger. Actually, we. I can't believe I've been caught red-handed. Anyways, all right. As a result of learning about left pad disaster, I started to parse, to literally, it's a translator. It's not. It doesn't even compile. It's a it's transpilation. It's changing it from one language to 28,000 files. On what possible plane of existence is this a better solution to past problems? How are hundreds of dependencies and 28,000 files for a blank project template anything but overcomplicated and insane? I'm on this team right now. I am on this team. That does sound, this does feel a little nutty. I get the impression that NPM ecosystem participants have created a penchant for micro packages rather than to write any functions or code. It seems that they prefer to depend on something that someone else has written. It feels to me as if the entire job of an NPM participating developer is writing the smallest amount of code possible to string existing library calls together in order to create something new that functions uniquely for their personal or business needs. Closed. In my opinion, if you cannot write a left pad is positive integer or is array function in 5 minutes flat, including the time you spend Googling, then you don't actually know how to code. Let's go! This guy is a savage! Any of these would make a great code screening interview question to determine whether or not a candidate can code. Yeah, I mean, it is. Elon might actually ban you for this. Finally, stringing APIs together and calling it programming doesn't make it programming. Oh, it's some... I mean, by definition, this is a correct statement. It's unarguable, okay? Unarguable. Dependencies, by their very name, are things you need in order for your code to function. The more dependencies you take on, the more points of failure you have, not to mention the more chance for error. Have you vetted any of the programmers who have... Quickly, do we have any can I, let's see, YouTube, let's see, yeah, I could probably just go to YouTube and just go test.ts and go, oh, yeah, go up here, do this thing, and just go function quick sort. I've showed this a few times. There we go. Actually, I'm gonna, okay, good. This is good enough. So if you look at this function, this is quick sort. I can tell almost immediately that this is quick sort. Wait, can I? Yes, this looks like quicksort. What you don't realize that's happening right here is that quicksort, one of the reasons why quicksort is incredible is that quicksort is what is referred to as an in-memory sorting algorithm. So merge sort is not an in-memory sorting algorithm. It requires you to make multiple copies of the array and kind of re-stitch them back together. We slice one, so there's the same work twice, right? This is a lot of n log n, okay? That's a lot, that's 5x equals 1/2 Grant Cardone. Oh my goodness. Chat, you are wild today. The name is you're bad at programming. So I've been using Copilot now for 6 months, and I have ran into some pretty world-class bugs that took quite a bit of time for me to figure out, and I figured out ways to use it in the most efficient way possible, and I've really enjoyed it. So let me take those 6 months of learning and just give you a few points on how to use Copilot and use it effectively, and more so, let me kind of address whether or not you should use it, because I do think that not everybody should use it. If you're unfamiliar with Copilot, it simply is some sort of AI generation of code. So if I go function subscribe to the Primogen and I want to return a Boolean, it's going to go through and tell you the truth. So go and do it. The robot says so. So first of all, rule number 1, don't do comment-driven development. It almost always is a terrible way to use Copilot. Like when I see someone go, write the quick sort function for me, right? Or however you want to say it, it's going to go over there and it's going to do a good job. You're going to have to give it a bit of prompting. Well, guess what? In the end, it's going to produce quicksort. And guess what? That is effectively correct. I can tell right away, but I can also tell a couple other things. When you let Copilot just Jesus take the wheel style, it's going to do things that are both correct and incorrect. Now, I want you to think about quicksort. It's an extremely well-documented, well-understood algorithm. And if you look at this, there's something very, very wrong about it. But it's not logically wrong. It will produce the right answer. What is wrong about it is that A, it creates 2 arrays here, and it creates an array here. It actually programmed quicksort but defeated the reason why Quicksort is so fast. Quicksort does not require any memory allocation. That's one of the reasons why it's so amazing. This requires several memory allocations. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, this is an nlog n memory calculation going on here. That's not good. So rule 1, don't do comment-driven development. All right, so rule 2 will take a moment for me to show you. I've been able to reproduce this bug super reliably, and it's come in many different forms. So I'm going to go like this. Struct, by the way, we're using Rust right now because, you know, Rust is just the greatest language of all time. There we go. A video frame is a timestamp. An audio frame has that. Struct video is going to be, oh, that's still TypeScript. Frames, it's going to be able to kind of guess what's going on there. It's going to be able to guess that. All right, so now I want to implement the frames per second calculation for video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go impl video, and I'm going to go pub function fps, take a reference to self, return out a float 64, and I'm going to go return match self, and it's going to go through and it's going to be able to get out some good information right here, and boom, we have an FPS calculation. There's actually a couple bugs here that have happened. I don't know if you can spot them right away, but let me tell you 2 things that have happened. First off, what is the unit of time for our timestamp? We never specified. Copilot doesn't know. It actually is considering it in seconds. Watch this. If I jump up here and I rename this to type milliseconds, jump back down here, erase this code, and let Copilot fill it in, it still didn't even get it right, and it added a syntax error. What happened here? What's wrong with this? Well, to be able to get frames per second, you need to multiply by 1,000 to convert your milliseconds into seconds. We're not doing that here. That means if your frame length was 30 and your duration's 1,000, 30 over 1,000, that should be 30. It's not 30. But second, there's a way more sinister bug going on here. Does anyone see it? Really, look for it. What could it be? Well, let me tell you. What is wrong with this statement? The statement says, hey, I'm going to grab the first video frame and I'm going to grab the last video frame. What if the first video frame is the last video frame? What is the duration? The duration is 0. What is going to happen when we divide by 0? Well, I can tell you this much. Not a good thing. It's not good to divide by 0 in non-JavaScript languages. At least in JavaScript, you get everybody's favorite number, which is not a number. So this leads me to my second point, which is I almost exclusively never let Copilot write my functions. I like to start writing them, and I will let Copilot do a bit of completion for me. So if I were to redo this, I would do something like this. Return match self. Let Copilot do that because I'm fine with what I see here. And I don't even look at what Copilot's going to do. I just delete everything inside of there. So I just give the old DI squirrely brace. Just get that out of there because that is crazy talk. After that, I'm going to add the things that I want. Self, frames, length. Put that in there. And now Copilot gives me a new suggestion. Guess what? Do you still see it? The bug is... So I use Vim, and I use it for everything. I use it, the large code bases at Netflix, and for all the stupid things I program on stream. So why do I use it? Obviously, in 2022, there is just so many editors I could be using, right? VS Code is insanely popular. IntelliJ is insanely powerful. Atom is still funny when people actually use it. Sublime apparently is making a comeback, so why would I use Vim in 2022? Obviously, people have very strong feelings about it. This guy on Twitter had very strong feelings about it. And of course, people on Twitch are baffled at this fact. So I want to break this question up into 2 parts. Why do I use Vim Motions and why do I use Vim? I think they can be answered a bit differently. So first, why do I use Vim Motions? Well, it started about 10 years ago when I decided that I was pressing Control, Shift, and the carrots, and I was so fast at just moving all around and highlighting and all that. And one of my friends said, you know what? You'd actually probably be pretty good at Vim. Now, my first Vim experience, of course, actually, unironically, involved me powering down the computer because I had no idea how to get out of it. That is not a joke. I am a meme. So when he told me that I should use Vim, I was pretty skeptical, honestly. Like, I didn't think... Anyways, I used that for about a week, and about the end of the week, I could tell, oh, I'm going to be way faster. than I was with the control and the shift and the key and the arrows and right? Like, I'm gonna be way faster. This is awesome. If you're editing a lot of code, it just makes sense to be able to edit it in the most efficient manner possible. I know people are like, well, most of the time I spend thinking. Well, I mean, I have an idea in my head, I have a pathway, and it just involves me writing a ton of code out. And so yes, Vim motions really do. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I only had 2 kids at that time. I remember going to my coworker's desk, Anders, and asking him a question about, like, hey, this thing in Netflix, I'm not really sure what's going on. And it's slow, I'm clicking around with my mouse, and I just remember feeling, I'm missing this entire world, right? I'm just never gonna like VS Code. You know, that's what I thought. And finally, a coworker, Yunong, came to me and just said, hey, yo, I'm gonna set you up and I'm gonna help you kind of get started with Vim because I think you're really gonna. Didn't like it. Things felt, foreign. Like I just didn't quite recognize where I was at. But it did not take long before there's no way I could go back to IntelliJ. There's no way I could use anything else. Of course, at that point, I got a little bit curious. I went and jumped into Doom Max and exactly what I want to do at incredible speeds. I don't have to. It has a built-in LSP client. Very good, very fast, very swift. And lastly, and most bestestly, it uses Lua. Fantastic to have, and I absolutely love it. If you're someone who uses VS Code and you ever... Alright, so I'm gonna do something a little bit weird here. We're not streaming. This video got ruined while on stream, blah, 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 OBS, blah, 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 blah. But I actually really did want to just talk about this article because I think it is an amazing, well-written article. I got the weirdest question today on Twitch, which was experience and confidence, right? With experience usually comes to never get a complex modern applications, but it works. Also, nice period. Also, it's not like the other tools like React or Vue don't have their own problems. And why would you add problems to your life? Hell yeah, girl. You should learn, obviously, some sort of top-down rendering type system like React or any of those, because it's good to understand kind of how the UI works, and then you pick a real proper library like Solid.js or something like that. Don't switch up paradigms. You're a front-end developer at heart. That's all the time, okay? Resume, any effort on your part, so be miraculous. It's important to... Oh, I don't know... Time? In the... I think that's the hardest. Does anyone here? There's tons of leak code. Oh, got regional. How many is tons? You know, the kids. Just use what the open source community creates and never give back. 100%. Stay. On the surface. Don't bother. Stay with that. Avoid professional development opportunities. By this time, you're almost guaranteed. By the way, we have left the cloud by DHH, the man with very little opinions. Since it took us years to get into the cloud in the first place, I originally imagined it would take us years to get out as well. But all that work to containerize our applications and prepare them for the cloud actually turned out to make it relatively easy to exit. And now, after 6 months of effort, it's done. We're out. The last application was brought home to our own hardware on Wednesday. Hallelujah. Wait, they're running their own stuff? Is that what we're reading here? Like literally like in-house servers? Wouldn't it be excessively easy to DDoS them then? Isn't that like part of the fun of not managing your own stuff, is that you have Cloudflare don't get DDoS? Okay. In those 6 months, we brought home 6 heritage services that we're no longer selling. What is that? What is a heritage service? But we have committed to support. All right. Grug on Agile. Agile. Is it agile or is it agile? Agile is what I call it. Grug think Agile not terrible. Okay, get out of here, Grug. I hate you. Not good. Okay, Grug, you're not. So I want to take a little bit of time and tell you kind of my... All right, Grug, all about it. We had training sessions, and I kid you not, we developed more process. We developed more process than features in the product. It was incredible. By the end of like the 6 months I was there, my meetings went up 6-fold. The amount of work I was doing went down like 6-fold. It was incredible what a good Agile shaman can do to a company. Incredible. I hated planning poker. I thought we were gonna do something fun. Instead, I like it's the exact same thing with like chickpea noodles, cauliflower rice, vegan bread or whatever it is, gluten-free bread. No, I associate something good playing poker with people I like, but it's mixed in with something I hate. Which is like gluten-free wheat, okay? I hate that. I just hate that combo, okay? I hate that combo. Vegan bread, yeah. Vegan bread, I probably wouldn't like that either. I need those eggs in there, baby. Grug tempted to reach for club when too much Agile talk happened, but always stay calm. This is true. Prototyping, tools and hiring good Grugs, better key to success software. Agile process okay, and helps some, but sometimes hurts taken too seriously. Grugs say no silver club. Fix all software problems, no matter what Agile shamans say. Danger.